Secret nighttime stream. What is he doing? This might be a short one. Actually, it's looking to be short. Okay, here we go. So, we got some cool stuff going on this morning. We rewrote someone else's shader to do what we wanted it to do. We've got a cool little arc thing for our beer throwing. Did I map throwing beer to the... No. Oh, there's a dead zone. I wonder if I can fix it with that. You can... Dead zone. Let's try bumping this up. Throwing's a bit too slow. Okay. We're going to start integrating some assets here. There's like a bunch of little things that we kind of need to do. Things to hit and water currents for what we're talking about doing the next time I stream. I forgot that tomorrow's the 4th, or that it was Friday, so I was like, at the end of the stream, I'm like, here's what we're going to do tomorrow, and then it's like, wait a minute. It would be Friday anyways. Which means I play your games, but not tomorrow, because it's the 4th. So I got a bunch of stuff I have to do tomorrow. I like that it says extract all. I have multiple things highlighted, and it only did the top one. Fucking Windows, man. They're all getting the shit wrong, though. All these operating systems are just getting all this little shit wrong. It's embarrassing. It's like these guys don't even... I mean, you got people writing for Microsoft on Macs and shit, I'm sure. Nobody dog foods their software. All right. Watercraft. Rice, how's it going? How you doing? Show you here in a second. Oh, come on. Crashed on me. Sorry for the background noise. Pulling in assets right now. Gotta wait a little bit. Ugh. It's still going. My God. So it doesn't have any controller outline. Which is weird because sometimes you just need the generic controller layout. Especially on PC. I mean, there's these. But this is like... I need the outline of a controller to show inputs on. Ugh. Oh my god, it's still going. Alright, there's a YouTube video we can look up. While we're waiting for this, apparently, forever, my art is in a lot of games. There's some video, some guy's got some controller input. Controller input art. God, who is the guy that made... Yeah, here it is. This guy's stuff. So this guy's stuff is in like a million video games. Oh shit. I didn't finish downloading it. We're still importing? We're still importing. Kevin, help us. Zelu controller. Download. So there's positional prompts. There's no just generic controller. God damn. icons into your text objects? Yeah, you can do that. It depends on the thing, though. But yeah, you can. There's different, like, buttons will let you do that. I think it depends. I don't think you can do it with, like, label. But the UI stuff kind of is flexible enough for you to be able to recreate that. Okay, we'll delete the Kinney prompts. We'll go with the Zulu ones. And then we're either going to go with the series or the PS5 for others we can get rid of. Okay. So this is all we really need. So now we gotta let those import. Look at how much quicker that was. Okay. Now I can show you the game again. Finally. I don't know what we've seen recently, but the thing we're working on is the we're in a little oops. We're supposed to be in inner tube, and you press the you're flapping your hands about to move it around. So we got these beer cans we're collecting in the water. We're trying to. So then once we have beer cans, we're going to make them easier to see. We're going to move the camera out. I guess that's the little things I could work on right now. But anyways, once we have the beer cans, we can throw them. So we have the little arch thing here. And then we throw the beer cans off like that. So that's our little aiming reticle. So we'll try to hit this thing like whoosh! So that's all we got right now. So we need to normalize the camera. It needs to follow the boat, the inner tube, but it needs to be tied to the height of the water. The water level is what we care about. That's where the camera should stick. I feel like that's something we should probably work on. Let's take a look at the camera position. So right now we got a kind of a first-person thing going on here. If we pull back a bit, I think like this, and again we spring arm it to the height of the water, not the player, but we follow the player's. So basically we lock it to the player's X and Z, but the Y we lock to the water. I think that's a good starting point for this. Let me just see what this looks like right now. It might not be high enough. Yeah, see how bouncy we are? We don't want to be bouncy like that for the player. So let's fix it. Let's move it up a little bit more. I think that's probably good for now. Then that's a good distance. And there's spring arm. We're kind of remaking a classic arcade game called Tubin, but in 3D. Hot Babes is one of the focuses. Tubin Arcade. Here we go. Loud noises. So this is an arcade game. It had 5 buttons. 4 of them were just the paddling mechanic. And you just paddled around. And you would collect beer and stuff like that. And you would dodge obstacles. And you collect power-ups or whatever. You'd throw things at people. At obstacles and things like that. So just making a summer game, basically. There's a summer games jam that we're doing. So let's try the spring arm. There's the camera. Raycast that dynamically moves its children near the collision point. Alright, I don't think that's what we want. I think we're going to have to use maths. We're going to have to use maths to do this. What are we looking at here? Presently, we're just looking at the Y position. So if we're just constantly, if the camera is free from the player, okay. So we're going to call it player camera. And then basically every process step, let's just take camera position Y equals 0. Or no, it's not that. How do we do this? The spring arm position. We put the camera on the spring arm, and then we move the spring arm position to project the player camera out from that. Or we just make a gimbal. That's even cheaper. We don't really need the spring arm yet, because we're not going to have anything behind the camera bumping into it yet. So no 3D, so we just do a gimbal where we put the camera inside the camera gimbal like this. Okay. Now, are we still far away? Yes. Okay. So now we have the gimbal. Can we get a list of exports? You guys know? Mr. D-Boy, how you doing, man? I hope you're busting ass. I hope you're doing good. The game's coming along. It's looking great. Saw you talking to Thornity this morning. Can't sleep. What's your time zone? Where do I send the nukes? I'm kidding. How late are you awake for past your bedtime? Past your sleepy time? Camera gimbal position Y. We're gonna just clamp that down to 0, and then X and Z equals whatever our tube inner tube is at. Inner tube dot position dot X and inner tube position Z. Okay, so now the camera should not bounce with us. But if we move around, oh, but you know what it's not doing? It's not matching our rotation. A rotation. So now we got to say camera gimbal rotation equals inner tube rotation. 3 a.m., 7 a.m. now. Damn. Game is going slow. Is it just things to do? Or do you mean what I'm doing? That's kind of what I'm going for. Marketing stuff, having my head in. Have you just watched the Steam Workshop stuff? Their YouTube? I would recommend, to get your head straight with that, you can get advice from people for sure. Let me see if I can find it. But I would recommend, this is from the horse's mouth. Let me show you. It's going to take a couple hours of your time. But it's good shit. The rule of thumb I would just remember is that Steam encourages things that make them money. So, but start with that video if you haven't seen this, and then the rest of their videos are here. You can kind of start here and then work your way up. But there's a lot of good different like pieces of information here. And this is straight from the Steam guys. So, but it sucks, dude, because you're gonna get so much advice, and some people just kind of like, you know, luck plays part of it. You know, it's a good looking game. It was the right time. Some of those things can definitely play a factor in the success. How long have you been working on the game? I'll be honest, dude. I don't know that you have much to worry about. Just keep iterating. The thing that I think some people think about Steam is that you have one shot. And I don't believe that, because otherwise you wouldn't have... I mean, the two big successes where they blew their one shot and still got huge was Vampire Survivors was one that had a poor launch, and they just kept improving it. And then another one that had a really poor launch was Among Us. Those are two notable ones that had really shitty launches, and they just kept iterating on it and improving the game and so on. Do you know, like, as far as your game, do you know, like, the audience of people that... Is there a category on Steam? Is there a game on Steam right now that fits yours that would be, like, whet those people's appetites? Because I feel like with yours it would be... I don't know, it almost seems like... what's that one that is, like, crack for people? Nope. I feel like honestly, it kind of, honestly, I don't know why I say it all the time. It reminds me of, God damn it, what's it called? A lot of the automation games. So like Factorio and stuff like that, I feel like kind of fits. It's like a combination of Factorio and, like Stardew or something, you know? That would make it for a good trailer. Is at first it looks like a regular farming game, and then it's like, oh, by the way, you can hire people and you can do all this shit, and then suddenly it becomes like this. Oh, it's like a big automation thing. How are you have it up already? How are the wish lists looking? You don't have to tell me numbers, but how do you feel about them? That would be a cool trailer. You'd be a cool trailer. Tell you what. I'd trailer you. One? What? The only one is me? Oh. I was like, what the fuck? If that was the case, I might be like, I don't even think I should make video games anymore. This ain't gonna work for either of us, dude. Okay. Lots of problems here still. Lots of problems. We're gonna work on it. Okay, well, we've liberated the camera. When are you planning? Are you planning on releasing soon? Are you doing early access? What's the plan with that? I want ASAP. EA. Look, dude, it'll be a slow revenue stream. You keep going, you keep interacting with the community on Steam. You can direct them to your Twitch too. You get lucky with a couple of YouTubers occasionally. You keep pestering the YouTubers even after the ones that say no. You know, you be polite about it, obviously, and occasionally you bump them up, say, "Hey, I just want to let you know there's some new features. I see you haven't redeemed the code yet. If you need another one, maybe you lost the key, I'll send it to you." Why are you feeling pressure about it, though? That's my question. Is it because it feels like you're gonna, if you don't have this big blow up, it's gone forever? Or that it means that it's you suck? Like what's the thing that's making your sort of maybe giving you the jitters or something? Because I see a good game. And I think that it's going to find an audience. And that video that I sent you, that first video and the second video after that, chronologically, are two really good videos just for you, for what your game is. They have really good advice for you. The pressure is real. But what's the pressure? What's that? What is that? Can you verbalize what the source of the pressure is? Like, do you financially need it to be successful? Is it that you just want it to be like big? Is it like a self-worth attached to the game's success? What do you think? Well, it looks like my game sucks at the moment. Just came back and things are way off from what I left it for some reason. Also, howdy, Rubik's. I know that feeling. That's going to be me when I get back to the multiplayer thing. I want to be in early access, and I want it to be a smooth early access launch. But it's early access. It's not going to be smooth. It's early access. Just make sure, I mean, you've got that cool feedback thing in there from the Subnautica stuff, right? You got a feedback system for that. You've got, you're going to trip and fall. You're going to have a shoelace that's untied and you're going to stumble. That's going to happen, but then you're going to figure it out and it'll get better. It's early access. Just have like hey, every Friday I'm going to give an update. Or once a month, I'm going to give an update. Whatever the cycle is that you want to do. And like, hey, I promise, the commitment I can make is that once a month there will be a new release. At least. Or whatever, you know? And then you do it, and everyone's like, my save is fucking gone! And you're like, okay, I learned something. And we're going to fix that. We're going to change how we're doing saves, because we don't want to have that happen again or whatever. I don't know. My collisions are off. My builders aren't showing up. Ugh. I believe in you, Mr. D-Boy. I believe in you. I mean, the save thing is a little simple, right? Every time, like, if you're changing save versions, like you have a new save thing, you just kind of put the old one somewhere, stash it, just in case there's something you missed, and then you go, oh shit, okay, well here's what you do. You go to the INI of the game, and you say, you know, don't use this new thing, or whatever, you know, like you could have some fail safes for it, I suppose. But you're not going to have that happen. Don't worry. I think I told you about the resource thing, right? Did you move away from that for saves? Just to be a little cautious about using resources for files outside of the project. Might have been somebody else that I had cautioned against that. Nope, still using resources. Oh god. Okay. Don't move the file that's creating the external resource in the user directory. Don't rename it. Don't change the class name. And you should be okay. Okay? Just don't do those things because it will break on their side. And what sucks is when you're testing, it can seem fine because maybe every time you test, you're creating a new game, a new save, and so, you know, you're like, it's fine, it's working for me. But then somebody who's got an existing save, the resource itself actually it has a identifier of in the project structure of the game where the file is that made it, that it's going to look for, as well as the name of the class and everything. So just keep that in mind. So if you move it and you don't have the old one there to then jigger a way to get to the new one, everything blows up. So I've just learned I personally will never use resources for external anything because it's a Godot concept. It's not. It's really not designed for being outside of the land of Godot. And when you're saving to the user directory, you're sort of out of its world. But anyways, I'm just be cautious. I'm just warning you. Just be cautious. Be careful. I do love resources though. I really like them. So we have some pirate ships. Let's see what this looks like. Rowboat small. Oh damn, that's a big ass small rowboat. Okay. What the hell does a pirate? There's a flag for a pirate. Rocks. Ship. Here we go. Ship pirate small. That's the small pirate ship? Are you kidding me? What's the large one look like? Jesus! Alright, let's see what it looks like in the game. It's not so bad. I'm just gonna be your cheerleader. We gotta find the One Piece. My collisions are off. My boulders aren't showing. Ugh. Rubik's, what's happened? Wait, I was doing a Roblox sponsor last night, and they had the exact same ships in the game I played. That's funny. We also have there's a shipwreck here. So we could do like you know, something like this. I can't wait to join the 3D gang. It's not too hard. What's hard is just like there's just a couple of things that you have to know. Like linear algebra is one of them that will help, but you start to figure it out even if you don't know it. My main scene shouldn't be a rigid body 2D, I don't think. Shouldn't the main node for the main scene be node 2D? It could be anything. You could start out with a node. My games, my main scene starts out as a node with nothing in it except for a control, a progress bar, and a label. And then I use that to show the load screen, and I try to make my games load once. It loads everything that it needs in that one load screen, instantiates the scene structure during that load, and then we're set. And then instead of using singletons, I then reference statics and things like that, and class names and stuff. And so generally I don't have globals in my projects anymore. And there's just like this main scene that I'll put a bunch of stuff in that are sort of my global variables and whatnot, and then I just do the rest how I want it. Why? I just pool everything, so that way I'm not constantly adding. I try to avoid instantiation as much as possible and adding children to scenes. So it depends on the game you're designing. But like with your game, for instance, if you know that there's on screen a maximum of 1,000 characters could ever be on your screen, zoomed out, ever. Right? That's all you ever need to have then. Because when you're panning and everything, if you're tracking them just as objects with positional information or whatever, then you just use that pool of to work with, right? I just find that for me it works better that way. I'm always testing on like potato computers. I test on my laptop, which I always refer to as the potato. It's like a really low-end computer. It doesn't have a dedicated GPU. It's actually a pretty decent laptop, but I feel like it's poor enough on certain things for me to be able to find out really interesting things about performance that I didn't know before. So a lot of times whenever you talk about performance, everyone's like, it's the root of all evil. Let's use that computing quote, and then only optimize when you need to. But my thing is, especially if it's for PC, it's like, well, I don't know. What's my minimum spec then? What is the minimum spec for the game? At least define that if you're going to say that. If it's your computer, then you might be cutting out a whole audience you don't even know, because you might start getting refunds or whatever because somebody's machine might not be able to jive with however the game is set up. But yeah, I just find that generally when you're making a game, like, at least from my experience, it's like, well, I use these objects a lot. I'm just going to pool them together. And then there's some other, depending on the game, you might need to do some other stuff, but I just prefer to have my structure that way. I guess I prefer composition over inheritance is the terminology that a lot of people use, and a more data oriented designing. I tend to shy away from I'm moving more and more towards like a monolith. Yeah, let me open up. This game's a bad example because this is like a jam. So I'm just slapping shit together quickly. Because I wish... is it a problem for your game? Are you noticing... Are you constantly instantiating and then queue freeing all the time? Yeah, so for instance with this game, let me show you. Yeah. Okay, so that was the load, okay? Let me walk you through the loading. So the default scene is this one here, okay? So this is the main scene of the game. Let me show you the game first really quick. You've probably seen it. So it's a hexagon matching game. You rotate pieces and you get matches. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. But I'm getting about 120 frames. This is 3D. I'm getting about 120 frames per second on my potato laptop. None of these pieces, they're changing, right? They're all the same piece. It's all pooled. So this is all like... Dayanara, how's it going?
Cool. Yeah, cool. You think it's cool?
Let me do a shout out to Dayanara really quick.
It's not cool.
So there's no queue freeing, no instantiation, no new instantiated stuff happening here. This is all pooled stuff here. Dayanara's here. Is M asleep? Welcome everybody. I was just showing Mr. D-Boy some stuff. He had some questions. I was going to show him some things here about the way I have my project structured. Yeah, hours ago. Sleepy bear. She's a sleepy bear. So, so Mr. D-Boy, so the way that it works is, so we have the main scene here. This loading node stays until I've loaded everything, and then I actually nuke it. This is the thing that I queue free. I get rid of this because we don't need it once I've loaded everything because we've loaded the game. It's a very satisfying chime. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we're working on the thing we're actually working on right now. Let me show you this. It's like a jam game. It's a work in progress. So imagine we're in an inner tube and we got a guy in there and we're splashing our hands, okay? We have co-op controls. So Q is forward with your left hand, and then P is forward with your right hand, and then W is backwards with your left, and then O is backwards with your right? So with that combination, we can splishy splashy around. Yeah, we're kind of just chilling out. And splishy splashy around. We picked up some beer cans there. It's really hard to tell right now. Sorry. It's a work in progress, okay? And then let's turn her around. There we go. So there's that little shipwreck. So if we head over here, we can throw our beer cans like that. That's all we have right now. Anyways, there's other systems going on, but that's the main thing right now. Eventually, we're gonna actually map the bounciness to the wave heights and stuff from the shader, but we haven't done that yet. So yeah, it's there's an old arcade game I used to play at a sauna in Nowheresville, California, and it was an arcade game called Tubin. And Tubin had 4 buttons, and they were the flapping buttons when you were in an inner tube, and you were a guy in an inner tube, And then there was a throw button to throw beer at people. So that's... Ah, shit. Are you here, Mr. D-Boy? I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'll be right back. It doesn't even need to be like that, Mr. D-Boy. I'll be right back. I'll explain more. Country's too poor for ads. That's great. That's nice. Advertisers are like, I don't care. We're not gonna. That's funny. All right, Mr. D-Boy, I'll break it down for you. Okay. So anyways, so it loads. It's super fast, and then this is the scene structure here. So I've got a game node. This I'm calling it a visualizer for this game. That's what I'm calling it, because the pieces, and there's going to be like background stuff and whoosh, whoosh, all this shit going on. So the game board is inside here. All of my pieces are instantiated in here, and they're just here. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right, and so what I do is at the start here, I go and I do this resource loaded load threaded request. Resource loaded load threaded request. So what this does is it tells Godot then starts to load these resources on if you have multiple threads on your computer, it uses the threads to start loading the resources, right? And then on our process step, we're just iterating through this. So what we have here, so we're going through our let's see, scene values. So these are some enums that I'm using. So these are the different things that we're going to thread load, right? So we go through and we say, okay, for this scene path, so we have scene path lookup. And then these are some constants: the game, the UI, the visualizer, the piece, the outline, blah, 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 blah. We're going and we're saying, okay, for that resource, load the threading of it, right? And then when we loop through it, we instantiate the number that we need. So we're determining what we're pulling from that, right? And we do this all threaded. It's really super, super, super duper fast. And then we ended up with just like a pool of pieces and stuff like that. So for like, it depends on how you want to do it with your game, right? I think your primary thing you want to focus on with your game is the villagers, right? Those are coming and going so much. You should pool them probably. If you're having performance issues, you should pool them, and you'll start to figure out where your maximum is, right? And you could have a warning, you could have an assertion, and it's like you could start out with 1,000 and be like, well, we'll create a pool of 1,000 villagers, and then basically when you're running the sim, you know, if they're not on the screen, you don't have to have them be on the scene, right? So all you really need to care about is, let's just see a doctor about your performance disease. So all you need to worry about is what the camera is seeing. That's what you need to worry about for your pooling. So it depends on how you do that. You might also just find, like, you know what, I can pool them all, and that's fine too. And then you just, because then in Godot you can say, hey, only make visible what's inside the camera's view, right? You can do stuff like that. You can cull and everything like that for but anyway, so for the piece, we just change the type. So when they flip over, we just run a set type. And then this just changes some material information about the piece. And so all we're doing is updating the mesh's material. And this saves tremendously with 3D in performance. Once I instantiate a villager, they always exist. I just show and hide them on the market bridge. I see, okay. So you might want to, if you're having performance problems, you might need to consider doing a pool and only showing, like, you'd have, like how I have set type, you'd have a villager that looks a certain way or whatever, right? Or you can just cheat. It doesn't really matter. It depends on what you think matters. If somebody's following that villager and they know they went left, and then they scroll the camera back and you're randomly generating that villager again from the pool, is someone who really going to notice that or care, that kind of thing, you know? But if it does matter, you know. But if you pool it and you just say, okay, on the screen, on the visible camera area, the maximum number of villagers is way less than the total number we're simulating. If the answer to that is yes, then yeah, maybe you should switch over to a pool and then only use that pool to represent what the camera sees in terms of, like, what villagers are moving around on the screen and everything like that. And then you sim the rest of that behavior without needing, you don't even technically need like a Node 2D to do any of that with, right? So you can do that just in data. But that's, I don't know the structure of your game or anything like that, so I don't know if those are good or bad recommendations. But I like it. I like pooling. I like it a lot. I did it with the beer cans in this game. So if we go back to, let me show you. If we get rid of our beer can total check, we can just throw as many are available in our pool and we cycle through it. So I can just sit here and just like toss beer cans to my heart's content, because we're just cycling through a pool of them. And so we're not reinstantiating anything. So like let's go around. Whee! And just, you know, because they don't exist that long in the scope of like the reality of the game. Does that make sense? So if the reality of your game is what this camera is showing, that's really all you need to, that's all you need to worry about needing to exist in the world of the scene tree, for instance. So so you do have, you are having like performance problems, like is it stuttering or what? And you're in GDScript primarily, right? Or is it just a general like slow decline of frame rate? Stuttering, yeah. That's the instantiating when you're adding another one. And the slow decline too. Yep. Yeah, you probably need to pool. What I would do to figure out the number that you need to is there's a way to detect what is visible on the camera, and you just count that number and make the worst case scenario of like open up your game's like free placement thing, give yourself infinite money or whatever, and create the most chaotic possible scene of like villagers all coalescing, right? And figure out what that number is. And then start there with your pool amount. And if you need to increase it, you can increase it. Because once you have the concept down and you're doing it, then it's really easy it literally becomes an enum. Or not an enum, but a constant that you just change. Like right here, I have beer can pool size is a constant of 20. And then when we ready the scene up, right now, because I don't have any loading or anything like that, I just resize. I have a beer can pool array, which is an array of beer cans, right? We resize it to our pool size, and then we for loop it. We instantiate the scenes that we are going to have for the pool of beer cans. I set them to false on visible. We add them to the scene tree. I add them to a beer can. I think I have it somewhere in here. This scene tree is a wreck, but I have a beer can node that's just sort of there that I just put for grouping things in. So when I'm examining the scene tree remotely, all the beer cans are just in here. I actually then, the weird thing that I do here is when we throw them, we reparent, initially, we parent them to our player controller, the inner tube. And then once you throw them, we then put them back into their own 3D space so that they act independently from where the rotation and everything of the I probably don't need to do that. But anyways, so the only thing, the other way to pool is to not always have them added to the scene tree. So you could also just pool the instantiation and then add to and remove from the scene tree. What happens with that is you're going to see a lot of orphans in your monitoring at that point. You'll see a bunch of orphan nodes. And it's up to you to sort of keep track of that. And you can actually add monitors to the monitoring in Godot. So you could have your own tracking to keep track of if you've accidentally created orphans. Because sometimes you could actually, in Godot's perspective, it's like, hey, you've orphaned something. But you're actually like, yeah, no, I know. It's on purpose. Like, it's okay. It's cool. I have it. It's there. It's just not in the scene tree. So relax, bro. Like, it's cool, man. Another thing, Mr. D-Boy, that you might want to do is decrease the frame rate of the sprites. So when you have a lot of sprites on screen, this is a trick that like Nintendo still does this with the on the Switch and stuff. When you're playing like a Nintendo game, like Kirby and the Forgotten Worlds, the animation frame rate of enemies that are further away is like halved. And the same with particle effects. If a particle effect is farther away, if it's not something you're supposed to really be, your eye is drawn to wherever your character is, right? So the particle effects are still happening, but they're like at a lower frame rate further away. And so what you could do is you could have, like in movies, they have what's called a hero. Like there's the hero, like if it's a sci-fi movie and there's like special weapons or whatever, there's the hero one, and that's the one that's for close-ups and shit. And then you have the janky-ass mass-produced ones that can break and stuff when a bunch of people are fighting or whatever. And those ones are like less, the quality and the look of it is less, it's not as good. Maybe there's buttons on it that don't actually do anything or whatever, where the real one, the one that the actor, the main character actor holds, it does stuff with, you know. But what you could do is you could say, okay, if I have these guys who are drawing on top of each other, then I can lower the frame rate of the other sprites. I think you can do that in Godot fairly easily, right? Oh yeah, I had to get a hero dandelions for an indie film. The perfect ones without any missing were the hero ones. Yeah. So like I think in 2D scenes on sprites, I think you can adjust. It maybe is in the process. Well, you can do it on ticks too. So you could override the draw of the Sprite 2Ds, Mr. D-Boy, for the villagers, and you can tick them and say, okay, well, we're going to reduce the animation ticks. So there's ways of doing this. It might be another thing to consider.
So you're just an old hacker like me, but disguised as an idiot.
Another thing to know is that right now in Godot 4 in Vulkan, in forward plus mode, so if you're doing it in forward plus, there is no batching in 2D. So so if you were to examine the frame draw, there's a tool, there's a few tools out there where you can run your game and capture frames and then literally scrub through how the frame is composed by the engine. If you're using forward plus Vulkan, right, you will, as you scrub through it, you will see every single villager, boop, 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 getting drawn one at a time, boop, boop. I don't believe that happens when you're in compatibility. So you could try switching, if you're not in compatibility, you could try switching over to that and just see if like suddenly the performance is like amazing. It could be the result of being in the Vulkan renderer, because it doesn't batch draw in 2D right now. So that's another possibility. And another thing you're probably going to want to look into, because you're going hard on this, dude, right? You're doing this like heavy sim shit. So you're going to probably want to look into the rendering server in Godot. I get worse performance and compatibility. And see, that depends on your GPU too. So like my GPU with Vulkan, even though I have a pretty good GPU, it can do Vulkan, but it also is kind of has weird behavior and shittiness with it. So the Vulkan, it's weird. GPUs are going in this weird moment in time where some of them are better at like OpenGL and all that, and Vulkan they support, but it's kind of shitty. And then the new Vulkan ones are real shitty with the old stuff. So, but the rendering server, this is where you can override the entire draw process in Godot, and you could create your own batching, which you might need to do. So this is kind of heavy shit right here, and I would suggest IRAD as somebody to talk to about it, because I think he knows, he's done stuff with this. But I think there's also, with 2D, there's also, here's something else to consider. Make sure that you're using Atlas textures as much as possible. So make sure that your animations aren't individual sprites, that it's an atlas of sprites, and that if you have like 30 different villagers, make it one big ass atlas, because you can make atlases of atlases in Godot, right? so if you have like a primary atlas, then you can have another atlas off of that that's like the first atlas is picking the villager type, and then the secondary atlas is picking the animation frames, right? But if you do that right, if you scale your textures 512, 1024, 248 like that, and then you atlas within that, it's way better on GPUs, especially on potatoes, and that'll get you more batching. So I don't know if that's something for you right now, but if you're, for instance, if you are taking in every single animation of your guys walking or whatever is an individual sprite that you're then composing into an animation of some sort, like an animation player or whatever, you want to consider scrolling through an atlas texture instead, because on the GPU side, it's totally cached. The texture then is just sitting in memory on the GPU all the time. My villager is a sprite sheet. Okay. Okay. And what's a sprite sheet in Godot? I forget. It's been a while since I've done 2D. Let's see. Sprite 2D. Texture. Is that a resource? H frames, V frames, okay. Region, okay. Okay, so you're using, so that's like an atlas. But let me ask you this, because you have a lot of different villagers. Are all of those different villagers different sprite sheets? Because if you put that into one collection, that might help. Animated sprite 2D. And do all of your new sprite frames, how does this work? Add frames from a sprite sheet. If you can put all of your but again, the batching probably isn't happening. Let me show you the frame. So this is called RenderDoc here. Let me show you how this works. So, let me get you the link. So here's the link to this. I mean, I'm just throwing you in. I'm just gonna drown you in this information just as much as, because I wanna help if I can. All right, let me show you what this is about. Because there's, for instance, in the Hexagon game, there's something that I can do that I'm not doing just yet for performance. And it's, you can either not know about this stuff or you can know about this stuff. And I will say, the people that I know that don't know about this stuff or don't want to care about this stuff, their games run like shit on my potato laptop. I'm just going to say it. And that's fine. I mean, if that's fine for them, whatever. But I do feel like if you're trying to sell on Steam, look, like, I have this theory, right? I've started to develop this theory. The indie games that really blow up can run on your fucking microwave. They're usually really low spec things that run really good on anybody's computer. Like Balatro, Vampire Survivors, like all of these things run on really, like Among Us, these don't require Minecraft. You don't think of them as needing like really beefy machines, right? So I'm getting a Steam Deck to test low specs. Go even lower. Okay, let me export this project here really quick. Okay, I'm putting it on my desktop. Oh, I already have it. Hexacore. Let me... Alright. Oh, there it goes. I'm like, I guess it exported? I don't know. Okay. So, now we can choose this executable that we've exported from our... We have to use god-awful Windows. And we're not actually on a desktop. This is a fucking lie! Windows, we're not on the goddamn desktop. I hate the new Explorer. It is fucking bullshit. Now we're on the real desktop. Look at that. God damn it. How do I get rid of this thing? I don't want a pin to start. How do I unpin this shit? Okay. Now we're going to go here. We're going to go to the real desktop and we're going to pin that. God damn it, Windows. God, see, it changes it. That's not the folder I was in. Sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay, so now we see it. Okay. He's losing his mind. All right. So if we launch the game from this, so all I've done is I've said, I've grabbed the executable and I've told it to launch, right? So now this tool here can capture frames for us. So right here, if I were to just capture, here we go. Capture frames immediately. Okay. So we just captured a moment in time of a single frame render on this game, okay? So if we click on this thing and we choose to open it, we can close the... Here we go. So here, we can actually see the way the frame is being built. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. So you can see over on the right side. So this is the depth pass for the 3D. Okay. Look at what's happening though. It's doing it. See all those? See all the hexagons? So because we have lighting, it's doing this depth pass. This could all be a single. It doesn't have to. Sorry, I got to zoom down. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't. But that's Godot rendering. Here we go. And check this out. So again, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like all of this could be. This could all be done in one pass. But Godot's choosing. It's not pooling the drawing. It's not doing it in a single draw call. There's ways of fixing this in 3D that I haven't done yet. There's actually a tool in Godot to help with this that I haven't implemented. But look at how much of the frame time is the depth pass here and then this color pass. So when I go to optimize the game for performance and draw and speed, I can see that the majority of the rendering time is spent like putting the actual hexagons on the screen. So if I could batch that into a single draw, I could save a lot of time on the render. And that means faster draws for slower machines. Is what that would mean typically. Anyways, and on this machine too. So you can do the same thing with your game. The nice thing about running on potatoes and getting your potato performance better is the gains are enormous. And sometimes the gains on the potato will equate to 0 increase on a modern or a more capable machine. So it's hard to tell like what matters a lot of times when you're just on good hardware, because sometimes the gains are net 0. But on low-end machines, the gain is like you just 3x the frame rate. So it's just something like, and once you start to kind of get a feel for it, you start to know, oh yeah, this is going to cause, like I just know this is going to cause a problem and I shouldn't do it this way, and I just won't. And then from then on, you just don't. But so with there was something I wanted to look up for you on 2D. I'm just chilling right now. I'm just talking to you. I don't care. There is something for 2D. I feel like there's something to let me. Canvas group. Is it Canvas group, I think? Merges several 2D nodes into a single draw operation. Child canvas items of nodes of a canvas group are drawn as a single object. Canvas item. So canvas item includes anything that's even an animated sprite 2D. So that's what I was looking for. Canvas group. Merges several 2D nodes into a single draw operation. Child canvas item nodes of canvas group, and a canvas item is the parent here, right? And an inheritance in the world of Godot, that means a node 2D, which means an animated sprite 2D. So you could try, when you're instantiating your villagers, try making them children of a canvas group. And see if that does anything. But there might be some stuff about this that I'm not familiar with. Child canvas item nodes of a canvas group are drawn as a single object. It allows an example draw overlapping translucent 2D nodes without blending. So this, I don't know that this is what you want, but you could try it. Canvas item. Well, shit, dude. Another thing that this is a whole other thing you could do is you could literally just use a shader to animate everything, which sounds insane. But if you use the shader, then, because you can scroll through like UV coordinates. So on a texture, you can chunk everything out and then just scroll to where you need to be. And you use time as your animation. And then you just scroll to those coordinates to draw that thing. If they're always going to be doing, are they always going to be moving or whatever, then anyways. Yeah, I there's a lot you can try, but I think you kind of need to break it down. You need to use the profiler and the visual profiler, stuff like that. Try to figure out if you can figure out, because you can look at like, oh, this actual part of one of my scripts is what's making things really slow or whatever. But all right. I hope I didn't send you astray, but I do think, Mr. D-Boy, one thing to do for sure is try RenderDoc and just look at what's happening on your timeline. Export your game into an executable. Don't have it be a debug. Export the game into an executable. Load up the executable in here. Launch it. Capture some frames with it. And then load the frame capture up, and then look at your timeline, and you're gonna get an immediate, like, oh shit. Like, actually, let me do it right now for you. I'll do it on your demo. Okay, I think it's updated. So the only problem here is I need to find the actual... I gave you a key. That's right, you did. You did. I'll do it offline here. Let me... Watch, somebody screen snipes it. Could you imagine? Damn it! Somebody stole it from me! Somebody stole it from me! Program files Steam. Okay. Only problem is I need to play the game for a period. Now you're tricking me to play your game on the stream. See what's going on here, Mr. D-Boy? You fucking tricked me! Is there a terminal thing? Can I just like create villagers? Or whatever you want to call them? Alright. Oh wait, before we play, exit game, we're gonna go to RenderDoc. Okay, and then we're gonna browse to program files. Oh no, it's x86. Steam. Where is it? Steam apps. Where are the actual downloads? Here it is. Okay, so here's your game. I might have to run in offline. I don't know. Okay, let me get the RenderDoc onto my other screen. Okay, I'm gonna get it over here. Okay. Oh, this is actually great. The title scene, we'll just let it go. I mean, this isn't a lot. But I'm going to capture some frames. That's a good one. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to quit it for now. So look at this. So this is Godot rendering the frame. This is what I'm talking about with Vulkan. There's no object pooling. There's no pooling on the draw. That looks like it did some. Like that one, that chunk popped in. This happens every single time the game renders a frame. This is happening again and again and again. So when do your villagers come in? Looks like at the end. And so this is Y sorting. You can see the Y sorting happening here. I mean, look at this. It's your world. If you just like, you know what this looks like to me? That looks like a texture. That looks like just like a single image, and it's over almost a third of the entire render time. But this is a tile map, right? So I'm wondering, what if you chunked, what if you chunked the tile maps out so that when you make a change to a tile map, it literally creates a texture. So if you chunk the tile map into like 1024 sections, let me ask you this. These are multiple layers of tile maps? Like, is this sand one layer, or is this whole thing the same tile map? We're just kind of seeing it come in. It's mini tile maps, like laid on top of each other. So what you could do is so obviously the frame captures that I've done is when we're at its point in time when there's not like a billion villagers, right? But here you can actually see this from right about here is when we start to draw those elements of the villagers. This is all Y sorted, right? So you've got Y sorting on this plane of things. That's all happening that way. But in terms of this stuff, I wonder if it's not like like you've got farmland, right? So these are the special ones. These are the ones, okay, if you think about it this way for your game, your farm tiles are the ones that are dynamically changing often, right? Because you have automated drones going out and interacting with the fields and stuff, right? So those are the ones that should be dynamic all the time. But for the rest of this stuff, the player is putting in the roads, right? And the player is shaping the land. And so if you keep that as tile map information, but you save those changes to a texture somewhere, only when the player changes them, then you're just drawing that texture once. Does that make sense? And you do it in those layers like you have it. So you can save the tile map into, you can still have the tile map as like the data structure thing, but then you save the, like when the player is like sculpting the land and all that stuff, that's when you go, oh, okay, I'm going to update the texture now because they've changed the that part of it. So I'm going to take a picture of the tile map, save it to someplace, and then that's what we're going to show the player. So you just have a texture resource that's always in memory that you're just kind of updating, not a file in the game memory. Don't save it to a file. Keep it as a texture resource just in Godot. And then you just fucking destroy, especially this part right here. You would just murder this time right here. This is the low-hanging fruit, it looks like. At least at first, when there's not a lot of people on the screen. And then you could do the same thing for like, if the plants are dynamic, if these are growing over time like weeds do in Stardew, then maybe, yeah, you draw them always. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, you might not know how to do that, but does that, what I'm saying, maybe make sense? It does make sense. Yeah. So, but what I would do is I would run RenderDoc on a save that you have that's having these problems, and then do this inspections. And then what do we? This is all just the GUI stuff. So what the player sees is this texture and not the tile map. Right. You're saving. You would use I think you would need to use another viewport that you don't actually show the player. You would render the tile map in that viewport only when you need to update the change. And even then, you know the exact position and sprite information that changes on that texture. So you don't even need to render it. You can take that sprite information and just paint it onto the texture to change it. Right? So you don't even need to do that process, really. And you might need to chunk it out. Because it, 512, 1024, those are all kind of favored. If you have a max resolution for the in-game thing, then, the thing about that is you want to turn off, you want to keep it at nearest neighbor, and there's like a couple things you want to make sure you're doing with it, because you're dealing with pixel art and everything. Here's another thing that is a known problem right now in Godot. And see how it's not batching the text draws? Right now in Godot, if you're using shadows, Look at how long it's taking. If you're using shadows on your on text, it really fucks performance right now. It's supposedly going to get fixed, but the easy fix for now is to literally just double the label and make, like in your case, this is an outline, I think, but in the rest of these, I think these are all shadows, right? So these things here, you could just offset an equivalent label, but it's not as big a deal. But it is something to know that right now it's not batching the shadow stuff. So you could literally, that's another way you can accidentally, because this is the equivalent of having this many individual sprites running around and not being batched, which is what you're seeing here as well. So, but yeah, that's a big part of it, is this. And so a possibility of why it gets worse over time is you don't have roads initially. So the tile map layer for roads, there's nothing there yet. So you've got all these layers of tile maps, and you can still layer the texture if you're doing this approach that I'm talking about. That would be fine, because it would. But I think that might help you. If you need help getting started with it sometime, let me know, and we can figure it out. But I think that would help a lot. It seems like it. Miss Cricket says, where we're going, we don't need roads. But yeah, you use the tile map for the data structure. Godot's giving you all that API stuff for free, right? You're just not drawing it. You're cheating. You're creating initial texture. Game loads up. Someone loads their save. You go, all right, we're going to create the texture for your game. Hang on a second. I'm going to show a load screen. And you write that texture to memory somewhere. But I don't know, like those writes and everything, I don't know how expensive some of that stuff is. That's why I'm saying, if you know that it's like the player is doing it, right? That's when it's probably real cheap. But for the farm stuff, you might want to keep like the plant life and all that stuff still be a dynamic texture layer. But you can see that even that, all the weeds and all this stuff, this takes a lot of time. So you'd want to experiment with it, for sure. But having that low-end machine is going to be hugely helpful in figuring out what's making a real big difference or not. But also just in the render docs, just seeing what's the majority of time is being consumed. So, anyways, I hope that helps. Dinara, are you still here? How was your stream? Yay! I'm going to close Hexacore. Got ads starting in about 5 minutes. I didn't actually work on my game much at all. I worked on Mr. D-Boy's game. But I say, if you're launching on Steam, you want to focus on. I think it's a good idea to focus on performance, frankly, because the Steam stats are going to show you these averages, but there are a lot of people that just don't have good machines, and your review score can get reflected by their performance. You know, somebody can say it's fun, but it runs like crap. You know, and that's a valid review. But if you kill that and you just don't have that be a problem, then people say it's great, I love it, and it's just another positive review in the bank. It's try the fold. There's you can change when you're in the print, when you do a print, In the print job, there's like where the fold is. And you can change where that is and see if that helps. Okay. What was I going to work on? We were things to hit, water currents, but I really don't want to do that right now. Is there like an advanced option? Do you see something that looks like a hamburger or like the triple dots? The poop trail, as I call it. The poop trail. Hey, check this out, Miss Cricket. I got the camera, so the camera, it helps with like not feeling so vomity. The camera is now just in its own little space. So we don't have it's not so vomity. And then we got our beer. Where are the babes, though? I know, we need the babes. We need the babes. You could have vomit mode as the option. That's how I play my racing games. All right, let's make the boats float. Let's make the boats float. Ocean breeze, salty. We got beach balls, baby. Don't know, hope so. What's this? Tell you what, chicken. It's the damn squirrels. They're eating up above you. Ooh, bombs. Oh, a slingshot. This is where the beer can could come from. Oh, shit. We gotta put a slingshot on this damn thing. It's a single mesh. Well, that's useless. That's useless. Oh, this is cool. Because we could have these rotating, and it's like it's going just slow enough where there's like a path you want to go here, but if it hits you, it starts to knock you around. So there's a forking path here. And it can grab you and actually start to take you the wrong way. And maybe you could stun it to like slow it down or stop it. We're getting too excited about some of this shit, but we don't have a lot of time here. We don't have a lot of time, okay? Okay, we need something to be able to hit. Something to hit. I mean, we've got the boats. We also have, you know what we've got is the little boats. Kenny, so not pirate, watercraft. Here we go. So we've got like a fishing boat and a houseboat. It's no biggie. Don't worry about it, Mr. D-Boy. I'm not blaming you. You're going to figure it out, though, dude. You've got a solvable problem with the game. And a tugboat. So I feel like all of these... Oh, and a buoy. Gotta have that buoy sound. All right, we've got to do the ocean thing. So we've got to get our everything bouncing to the waves. So that's what we're gonna focus on. So let's do that. We've got a project here that is doing it. Somewhere. Buoyancy. I'm gonna dust off my old laptop. So the thing that you might find is that, and this is another thing to just consider, you might find you can't even run the game on your laptop because it doesn't support Vulkan. So in that case, your mind starts to open up to, okay, so maybe I should allow it to run in either compatibility or Vulkan. And then it goes, your head's going to explode and you're going to go, wait a minute, now I need to create a loader for the game that can detect what it could support before it actually loads the main executable. But those aren't bad things. Those aren't bad things to be worried about. I don't think. I'm just going to try to evangelize you. Because, people can refund on Steam. And you'll get a refund and you're going to be like, well, what the fuck happened here? And you're not going to know. And it's like, oh, it doesn't even run on my machine. I don't know how the refunds actually work on Steam. Do you get to find out why they refunded? All right, so we've got this bouncy thing here, and it follows the waves in this world. So let's try to integrate this into our stuff. This is gonna fucking suck, but we're gonna do it. So we're just gonna steal this water shader. And put it into our project. Up to the 2 hours mark, yeah. And for some people, it might literally be, and this is like, Steam will probably look at those stats as like somebody opens the game up, and within seconds they get an error saying, hey, I can't use Vulkan. And it's this really shitty error from Godot. If you've ever opened up a game that's built only in Vulkan, it's like really unhelpful. It doesn't, it's just like, eh. Godot's essentially like, it's like, it doesn't even, I don't think it's a Windows pop-up. I think it's like a command, you see a terminal window with like a little line of information when it shits the bed on that. Okay, there's our water shader. And let's go back over to the project. So we have water here, and they're just using a plain mesh, not even a quad. So we're gonna hide. I need to start organizing this mesh. You know what I wish you could do? Mesh colon and then the name. And when you instantiate it, it just gives it that name. Instead of having to do this and then change it. I hate that. I hate it. That's right, I said it. Face Y. Material is the shader. Okay. Noise texture. Seamless. Normalize. And fast. All right. So we have something approximating water right now. It's being cold underneath. Is this calling? Yeah. All right. So what does this look like when we run the game right now? Okay. It doesn't look like shit. So now we actually need to have some waves. Lenovo, sorry, Lenovo. So Lenovo ThinkPad X260. What are we looking at? Tech specs. No tech specs. Give me some marketing shit here. Troubleshoot diagnosis guides. Warranty status, purchasable spots. Trade in. Don't forget the inches. You know what? I'll forget the inches. However, I want to forget the inches. Doesn't give any specs. I can't find any specs anywhere. Like processor or RAM or anything like that. What Windows is it running? Are you on 10? Here we go, laptop mag. An i5 with 8 gigs of RAM. This is perfect to test on. Yeah. It's got an onboard GPU, right? So this is where you're going to see way worse performance. And then when you make it better, you're going to see way more gains on this than on your working machine. Guaranteed. And this Yeah, might actually be. Might be too beefy. Okay. Ah! How do we make the waves wavy? Oh, they're stuck in time right now. That's right. Time is they're stuck in time. Ticking away the moments that make up the dull day. Alright. Fritter and waste the hours in an off-hand way. Alright, there we go. Sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older. We're in the waves. Ah! All right, this is looking good. Now we gotta hook everything into the all this shit. Here we go again. All right, let me check the DMs here. I wouldn't be so worried, Mr. D-Boy. You got this shit. Dude, you have a solid game. It looks ready to ship already. You're gonna... It'll be okay. And you care. These are all important things. Integrated HD graphics. Yeah. So integrated graphics, this is great to test on. I think you may find that it does not have Vulkan support. So that's good to experience that and understand what that means. But I believe that Godot 4, just so you know, I believe that Godot 4, you can have it fail safely. There's something in the project settings where you can tell it, hey, this is the order to fail in. If you don't have Vulkan, try this. If you don't have this, try this. And I think you could build that in now. And another thing you could try is you could just see if it runs better on your machine with DirectX. So you can override the driver on the so where is it? It's somewhere in here. You can say for Forward Plus rendering, you could use, here we go. Where is it? It's render. Here we go. So for driver windows, if you were on Forward Plus, you'd have a drop down for DirectX 12. So you can see what that does too. And you could add that as an option for people to use if you wanted. You probably need to make an interface for that somewhere in the game settings, and it'd have to reboot and whatnot. $16 gigs. So you kind of... Oh, you've got an i7. Dude, this thing's a fucking beast. It just doesn't have a GPU. So it'll be an interesting experiment. Because that's where the the performance is whoa. There we go. Okay, so that looks like what we want. Now we need to connect the... We're almost there. This isn't too bad. Not too bad. So this is the code for something that interacts with the wave information. So we're taking our global positioning and we're setting it on water. Now this is the weird part, is we're gonna zone things. So we need to switch what water is occasionally. I can't believe it cost $2,000 back in 2016. But imagine, so, dude, that's what I'm talking about. Like, somebody spent money on something like that. And for them, that's a purchase. That's like a 10-year computer, right? So that's a market of people that might want, and they might look at a 2D game like yours and be like, oh, I should be able to run it. And then lo and behold, oh shit, it can't. So, like, you don't want to miss out on that sell. That's what I'm saying. So how much is, like, if you say it's, let's pretend like it's 100 sales, and then you exit by the number, how much money you'd make on total after everyone takes their cut? Is it worth that time? Whatever it would take to do it? And let's say it's 1,000, you know, is it worth it? And the other thing too is, like, you take it with you. You take the knowledge of what you're learning with this stuff, and you just apply it to the next thing. And some of these things, I feel like once you start to learn an engine and everything, it's just habits. It's like, okay, from now on, I'm just going to change. I just know these things now. And so my habits for what I'm doing are going to be different. This project structure is a fucking nightmare right now. I've got to fix this here soon. All right, submerged false. Now here's the interesting thing. So we apply a force, integrate forces. Right. Okay. So we have water drag, water angular drag, gravity. So these can all be in the core project like we've got it, right? So we have all this in. Let's do it to the beer cans first. Because maybe no, we should do it to ourselves first. We should do it to the boat. Everything okay, sweetie? So, okay, so we have float force, water drag, angular drag. And then gravity we're assigning here. Because of how we have to grab it. It can't be an on ready. And then water. Okay. And then probes. That's from our perspective. This is applying multiple. Okay. All right. Are you okay? All right. I'm going to take off, everyone. I appreciate hanging out, Mr. D-Boy. I hope that I'm not leading you astray. I don't think so. I think I think because you're dealing with like a very dense simulation, and that's part of it, right? You want to see that growth and everything. That this kind of stuff is the things that you'll start to want to look at. Anywho, much love to everybody out there. Stay safe. I will not be streaming tomorrow because it's the 4th of July. We're going to be hanging out with family and all that stuff, celebrating the birth of our country, our nation, specifically, I suppose. And let's find somebody to raid. All right. Found someone to raid. Yeah, get some sleep, Mr. D-Boy. See you guys maybe this weekend, but definitely on Monday. Bye-bye.